You're listening to the Life in General podcast with Tom and Jaye. An hour of informative commentary on today's headlines, current events, and what's going on around the world and around the corner. And now, here are your hosts, Tom and Jaye Darden.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Life in General podcast here with Tom and Jaye, coming at you with episode number 65, titled TBD, as several of these are, and then we'll probably say it during the middle of the episode with some random topic that, much like the show Whose Line Is It Anyways, the points don't matter and no one's keeping score anyways, so it's all good.
That's right.
But we're going to start this episode off the same way we do every time and ask the man of the hour how he is down there with Eddie Money, 2 tickets to paradise down there in Ecuador, good old Playas. So, hey Dad, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great down here in Never Never Land. Life's good. There's not much to say. Weather's the same every day, and life's good, and the everything just kind of motors along. It doesn't get too crazy. Or
when I hear life is good, I think with the current happenings with your bike and whatnot, and then things motor along, I thought to myself, that is the best pun I've ever heard in my entire life, right? Because nothing's motoring along with the current state of things, but life is still happening, especially when the job, can be done from the sanctity and comfort of your own home. So
that's right. That's right.
Just moving and grooving. But yeah, so you had a couple of things you wanted to talk about today here on the podcast. And so we'll kick it off with our first topic. So fire it up.
74 days till Election Day. 74 days till Election Day. Wake up, pay attention, do your research, and see what's going on, because they're going to bring in something new every day. They're going to have some kind of distraction. It's either going to be Mar-a-Lago or gas prices or the border or the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a huge lie. Or, they just hired 87,000 new IRS agents that are going to carry guns. There's always going to be a distraction between now and Election Day. And some of the primaries are showing huge flips from blue to red. So we'll see, but some of them are not. Some of them are not showing huge flips. So the abortion topic is a huge topic in several states. It's a big deal, I guess, about the way those particular states are going to handle it. But now, 74 days, it's going to be time.
Well,
vote them out. And you ain't even need to vote out Marsha Blackburn out of your damn state too, because she's done nothing, man. She comes on and she's just a.
She's a politician. Is that what it is? She's actually doing her job flawlessly because she is lukewarm. So much like in Revelations 3:16, you are lukewarm. So I will spew you out of my mouth.
Senate Intelligence Committee. What a moronic statement that is. And she said, well, when we flip the House, we're going to do this. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not going to do any of it. It's all talk. It's all lip service, and you're not going to do any of it. If you flip the Senate, then Joe becomes the lame duck president. He's not going to get anything done because y'all aren't going to let him push anything through. So it's just going to be a cluster, man. It's going to be a huge cluster.
Well, to that point, really quick,
okay.
You said 74 days. We talked right before the podcast. It starts now. It's already started, right? Primaries are happening. Research needs to be done. Get out there and figure out who aligns best with your worldviews, essentially, like who can get things done and who is going to be a candidate which can be voted in. Now, understand this, like there's a new movie coming out that I forget who it is, but or what it is called, I should say, but it's about a reverend, right? And one of the things they talk about is who has a comeback story, right? It looks amazing. And this reverend, I believe, was put up on charges, and so he's going to have to kind of bounce back. And they want him in the White House, right? They think he has the charisma and stuff to do that. Well, then they talk to his wife, this this pastor's wife, and then they say, in the previews, some people just aren't cut out to be first ladies, right? Like, and I'm thinking to myself, whoa, and that same thing happens with every sort of political figure, right? Like, you have to fit a certain mold to be a political figure, just in general, right? You might get a very niche crowd with some support if you are kind of like wild. I mean, whomever knows the reference of Vermin Supreme, right, who ran for office years ago. It got songified. That's the only reason why I know that person is. You might get a little niche community there, a little niche crowd, but you're going to have to fit a pretty cookie cutter mold to be able to be a part of that game. It's not something where it's like, don't just base things solely off of what you think they can effectively, like, let's say they line up perfectly, but there's someone who, like, in your logical brain that doesn't have a chance at winning. All right, so sometimes you got to compromise. Now, of course, it's very difficult to hear that and want to talk about that a bit, but it's also something where, okay, how much change can we actually affect and be a part of with the person that we're backing, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons why they have like the primaries for, the presidential campaign, right? I mean, they pick so many people and then it narrows down. And these people fit a very particular mold. If the last 45 presidents haven't been any sort of indicator, right? So yeah, just be mindful when you're out there. Like, it's important. It is also difficult, but it is something that is worth doing because not only is it our civic duty, but it also affects all of our futures.
Right. You're right about it. You're right. It's just, they're all, oh gosh, they're all liars. I mean, and they flip flop, and it's like the here and now and whose bandwagon can I jump on? And it's really sad. It's really sad situation that America's gone down the tubes where it has. And it has. It's gone down the tubes. So one of the reasons I say that is there's a couple of things. Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, had a wreck. He was DUI, had a wreck with injuries. Okay. In the state of Tennessee, with injuries and somebody shooting at you. So, if you have a wreck under the influence and there's injuries, that's a felony.
Oh, okay.
And you can get up to 5 years. Even a first offender can get up to 5 years in jail.
Right.
Suspended driver's license, have to put the breathalyzer on your car and all that kind of stuff. They gave him 5 days in jail. This was his sentence, was 5 days in jail. He spent 2 in jail. They gave him 2 for good behavior, which that's unheard of. And then the 5th day, he can work around the courthouse to work off his jail time. Really? He's got to pay $1,700 in fines and court costs, and then has to have a breathalyzer installed on his vehicle. Well, he won't have it installed on his 2021 Porsche because it's wrecked. So the guy's worth $52 million. Why didn't you call an Uber or call a ride, man? Really? But he pled guilty. He's the greatest thing in the world because he pled guilty. That's a load of crap, man. It's a load of crap.
I will say this.
But that's in California.
Not every person who's inebriated is going to have the wherewithal or be surrounded by people who are going to try to get them home safely, right? It's a scenario where Duder's tanked. He knows he's invincible, and then he goes out and it gets proven otherwise. But it's a scenario that it's difficult, man. I mean, alcohol is a disinhibitor, right? Like it lets you think that you are bulletproof, even to the nth degree if you already thought that you were. So I mean, no, that is what it is.
Well,
man.
It's a light ass sentence. In Tennessee, you could get 5 years, and then probation. and then the breathalyzer, and then court costs and fines. And then you're going to have the probation officer that you're going to have to go visit and pay. So it ain't no joke in Tennessee if there's injuries involved. They don't take that lightly. Of course, you have to look at who the person is and the strings they pulled and all that kind of bullshit. So, yeah.
Well, and it's something that I think, given now, of course, a lot of our listeners are going to be either family members or folks who we've known for a hot minute and whatnot. But it's also something too where if we're like, it's difficult to judge folks who pull strings. The problem is that they are in positions of power, so it feels worse because they appear as though they are abusing power, right? Because they are political figures. Where I don't think for a second, if somebody that was close to you did something wrong, you wouldn't do everything in your power to lighten that load or make the repercussions less, egregious, or things of that sort. So, albeit it seems like it's a light sentence and the punches were pulled and all this, but it's also something too where if somebody you actually cared about was in a scenario like that, you would want them to be as lenient as humanly possible because that's just how it's going to be, right? The people surrounding them are going to want to do everything in their power to make sure that it is something that doesn't crush them.
Okay. You're right. And speaking of people in power, Joe Biden got Homeland Security to approve a contract to build a security fence for $500,000 around his beach house. Taxpayer funded Homeland Security awarded contract to the fencing company. So your tax money's paying for the security fence around Joe's beach house. But you can't, there's been 2 million to date illegals come across the border, 2 million so far to date. And you can't finish that wall with all the materials there and it's all paid for and everything. And you can't put the wall up, or you're putting up sections of it to try to make yourself look good, or the politician that's over that area look good, but you can't finish the wall. You just allow these people just to come on in. But your tax money is paying for a $500,000 security wall. How do you feel about that?
I feel about it in the same way that I feel like the rest of my tax money goes towards things that I don't exactly agree with, but it's a part of a system that I'm a part of and am okay with. One of the reasons why I say that is because there's a plethora of things that I don't want necessarily my hard-earned tax money to go to.
Okay.
Now, I mean, are there things that have to happen? 100%. And I am very well aware of those, and it's all good. Then there's also things where, no, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But you, much like Married with Children, you can't have one without the other, right? So
I guess
it is what it is. Now, I mean, that sort of a thing is very provocative, right? It's something where
yes,
we put on our provocateur hats because the thought there is, okay, people will purposefully go out of their way to make a bad decision or a subpar decision, and that, especially to us, I know is very viscerally, emotionally engaging, right? Where it just rips us up. Because there aren't a whole lot of mistakes of things or mistakes that happen or things that happen where we think, oh, that's just life. That's just not how a Darden thinks very much. And so it's a scenario. A lot of the bad things that are happening around the world are things that are happening on purpose because of people making poor decisions. And that's fine. That very well is going to happen, and life's going to happen, right? It's unpredictable. But in this case, when the point being, well, yeah, the person in power is making a subpar decision, presumably with my money and your money, because, Social Security is taxed to a degree, and then this is taxed and that's taxed and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, no, it doesn't feel good, but it also is a scenario where the finite amount of, remember, brain power, energy, time, it can't go into stuff like that where I can't affect any change to that sort of thing, especially immediately, right? So having an emotional response to it and eliciting an emotional response to it, at that point, the person in which or the source in which you got that information from has won. Because that's the only reason why they're telling you this. It happens on both sides, like the distractions, right? Where, like, did you see that, $500,000 or whatever went into Joe Biden's beach house? Okay. I also heard of other presidents going on golf trips. I've also heard of other presidents doing this, that, and the other, right? I mean, it's a scenario where that stuff shouldn't surprise us anymore. The surprising thing is when good things happen and everybody agrees. That would honestly be surprising. Because when's the last time that's happened?
Well, I don't. Okay, if you say so, I don't see much good coming out of the Congress at all.
That's my point, right? It's like, when's the last time something that happened that people actively, everybody did it instantaneously? Everyone's like, no, that's a win.
But you can't just flagrantly break the law or circumvent the law. Let's say, like Sandy Cortez right now has like 21 days to file her financial statement for her Senate seat. Okay. The deadline was like the 21st of August, 3 days ago. But you have like 21 days before they fine you. Now you're making $175,000 a year. Okay. And you can't file your paperwork on time. And this is not the first time. She didn't file last year until the day before they were going to fine her. And what's funny is the fine's $200. The Senate Ethics Committee will fine you $200 for not doing a financial disclosure within the time limit. What if you don't have anything to hide? Why don't you file the damn paperwork on time? And come to find out, she didn't file her income tax with the IRS on time either.
Well,
what kind of example are you setting, man?
Well, but that's the thing, that they don't care about setting a good example. That's
exactly. Then why reelect her? Why reelect somebody like that doesn't give a damn? They don't give a damn about you. They don't give a damn about you. They only give a damn about themselves and what they can gain from their seat. I don't get it. I don't get it.
You don't get it because this is a generational thing. And it's very close, not even in my generational part or, grouping. But one of the points is, okay, you have a female minority Senate seat holder beat the white man, right? Like went against the norm, the status quo, and won in a place. And she elicits that sort of a, like, we can do it sort of a thing. Like, the underdog can prevail and they can have progressive thoughts and plans and things of that sort, even if they are, to some degrees, either not as well thought out or not laid out as well. It's something where you're not going to get a following and a base from Twitter or Facebook if you're an 80-year-old man.
Easy now.
That's just not going to happen. You know who is going to get that? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right? They're going to be able to engage. They're going to be like, and pardon the the use of this, but the everyman, right? They're going to reach out to so many new, fresh voting people because it seems like they're hip. It seems like they're with it. It seems as though they're the, like, we're going to actively work for the people. And that's fine. But regular people procrastinate. Regular people don't get their taxes and shit done on time. I used to live with a person, never got their shit done on time. Like, it waited until the last minute. So it's a scenario that it's like, no, they're not there to set that example. That's not why they're doing this, is to tell people, get your taxes done on time, or interact with the government in such a way that is very pleasing to the government side of things. No.
You be careful.
No, you be careful. The point is to get that younger crowd, to get people engaged, to get minorities engaged, women engaged, even men who are our allies and all this sort of thing. Get them engaged in something in which it feels new and different, because it's not the same old 80-year-old person sitting around doing nothing, knowing exactly how to play the game to where they can play it forever and they're done. That's why people will keep voting for her. I mean,
then your future is screwed.
Okay.
So
we're here for a good time, not a long time.
If she's 26 or 27 years old and you're mid 30s and you think she's new and got new and fresh ideas, then yeah, she's a new Green Deal electric car. Oh, speaking of electric cars, did you see where I sent the
I did.
sent you that thing
it was
about
great, where they're going to make a bunch of EV charging stations. I would pay a lot of money, not as much as they want, but a lot of money to be riding in that Tesla, man. And I apologize to everybody out there. The Life in General podcast is in no way condone sleeping in your vehicle while it is moving at high rates of speed or at all. But man, self-driving, AC powered, or like electric powered, ready to go. I mean, just never hitting at the gas station, just giving it the finger every time I go by. Like, just
they're building a brand new mass production electric charging station manufacturing plant in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Right. Yeah. And,
so
it's going to be nuts. Now, I will say this, they 100% need to make the version of that vehicle that is purchasable, right? Like, I mean, they have the Chevy Volt, the Nissan Leaf, they, BMW's got one, Cadillac's coming out with one. They have
Land Rover just came out with the all electric. Your nephew sent me a picture of the new all electric Land Rover.
My cousin?
Your cousin, nephew, somebody in the family.
Perfect.
My brother's son. Yep. Works for Buckhead Service in Atlanta, Georgia area. Land Rover Service Center. That's all they do, specialize in Land Rovers. And he sent me a picture of the new all electric Land Rover. Sweet. Yes.
Well, it's something that and of course, prices are ever going to increase. We understand that wholeheartedly, but it's definitely a scenario where electric cars are, to me, they seem like a great thing. However, one thing that you got to watch out for, right, is you better buy the electric car that is like an Apple computer and not one that is like anything else. What do I mean by that? You get your new like software from Apple, boom, done. Like it's built into the package, right? Where when a new like iOS comes out and stuff like that, you don't have to worry about that sort of shit. Like, you download it, you don't have to pay anything, and you're done. Where a new Windows model, excuse me, like Windows 11 or whatever, a lot of those things, at least back in the day, every single one was a new iteration and you had to pay for it. And like apps getting updated and stuff like that, you got to pay for it. Where, from my understanding, and correct me down in the comments below, like when you get the Tesla, if you of course pay out the ass in the beginning, all you got to do is do updates and you're done. Like you just keep updating the vehicle and then boom. Where they can make those cars be like everything else is nowadays, where they nickel and dime you to death. Right? Okay. Where your remote start, would you like remote start? Well, you can have it for $50 a month. Oh, you want heated seats? That'll be $5 a month. You know, that like you would like self-driving stuff on things that aren't certain vehicles. That'll be X, amount a month. Or cruise control. That'll be this amount a month. Right. Just like with like XM radio and shit like that, where you pay, a premium for it. That's absolutely wild. You bought the damn car, and I bought it specifically so it did these functions, where they're looking at now trying to make it to where everything's going to be a subscription inside your fucking vehicle, man. Like that's going to drive me crazy when it starts to come out and be like the norm.
That is funny. I remember when XM radio came out and they all advertised no commercials, and then they sucked you in and then they started having commercials. And it's like, wait a minute, Sirius radio and XM for over-the-road drivers? Right. You could just get that music all the time. Right. And it's like, oh, no, I never bought it. But a lot of people told me about it. I never bought a subscription to it. But I always had my tablet or my iPad with me, and I just plug it into the radio and just let it roll like that. But,
right. Yeah, that's pretty much the name of the game when I play it. Right.
Yeah, standard procedure there.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't giving them money to listen to the radio because and I used to write down the classic rock stations in the cities that I traveled through. I know it sounds pretty crazy, but I'd go home and on the computer and I would look up classic rock in, Louisville, or classic rock in Cincinnati, classic rock in Columbus. And as I traveled, snaked up through Ohio and then went over into Pennsylvania, so I knew I had them set so I could start my trip and move the buttons along as I went. Yeah, that's how cheap I was. So it's like,
well, hey, there ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, especially if it didn't cost you any money.
Usually they have really good radios in them. Sure. So, good stereo sound systems and stuff. So,
well, I was going to say that's like the one luxury you can have in there, right? Is a decent bed, a pretty good sound system, because you're going to be on the road a lot, right? That sound system better be kick ass.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, a decent bed and a decent sound system and a decent refrigerator, and you're set. Yeah,
ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and the people I work for always took care of me, man. I always had top-notch equipment. So, worked out really well. So, I sprang this on you earlier about roaching.
Yeah, man. At first, when you told me about it, I thought you meant like we were gonna, get the roaches at the end of a joint or whatever, right?
End of a joint, and we're gonna figure out how to put the roaches together and maybe.
Yeah, well, I've seen it. I've seen people have little fucking tweezers, right? And they go, they're getting that last little bit. It's like, damn.
It's hemostats, man. Hemostats, yeah.
I'm telling you, dude. Like, it's yeah.
You're in the medical profession? No, but I've got 4 sets of hemostats here.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
To hold my joints with. But when I saw that, it said roaching, and then it said how to recognize it. So naturally, I had to click on it to see what it said. And it was, I'll let you tell what it says.
So, roaching, coined by, hilariously enough, I'm waiting for it, Ask Men. Roaching is when a new partner hides the fact that they are still sleeping around with other people, generally something that may happen early on in the relationship.
Oh, Yeah, and this picture they had, this guy was hugging this girl, and he had his phone and was hugging her and was texting somebody behind her back, that kind of shit. Yeah. And another picture they had is a couple sitting on a bench, and there was a girl sitting on the other side of his girlfriend or wife or whatever, and he had his arm out like this, and him and the girl over there were holding hands behind the bench. And I thought,
oh man, it's something nowadays that doesn't seem uncommon at all. I mean,
right.
I know I definitely am going to be proven wrong, but it's also something too where the casual dating side of things, no, it's totally fine. I mean, everyone's independent, everyone's strong, everyone's powerful, everyone is sexy, everyone's this, and it's like, okay, right, perfect. Right. Well, I got this from, sadly, The Mask, okay, with Jim Carrey back in the day. And to everyone who hasn't seen that in a minute, watch just the first, 20 minutes or whatever when Cameron Diaz goes into the bank to open an account, right? Because she's scoping out for her friends some stuff. And anyways, Jim Carrey's buddy in this said women are looking for the BBD, as he's saying this, the bigger, better deal. And I think, and I have, for whatever reason, that hit me just in the right spot. People in general, not just women, are always looking for the bigger, better deal all the time. And why right. wouldn't they? Why wouldn't people always be looking for something better?
Right. Okay.
I mean, it's something where, especially nowadays, the dating world, it's not, oh, I'm going to go to the local bar, or I'm going to try to date people within a 20, 25, 50 mile radius of me. Instagram is a real thing. Twitter is a real thing. And Facebook is a real thing. All of these different social media sites have taken the dating space and just expanded it to infinity. You can find somebody to talk to in China, like I have, right? And they're sitting there and we're talking at 10 p.m. and they're like, oh, I just woke up. And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. This is insane. You want to come to America? And it's like, since the sphere of influence of people who are dating or trying to be dated, because that's a real thing, right? People are trying to be courted in that way, and man or woman or whatever, the possibilities are limitless. They are literally limitless, because you can have somebody with enough money, enough clout, enough power, you could call it, resources, whatever, enough looks, and say, hey, come to my country for a weekend. And some people are going to do it instantaneously.
Right.
Because look at that experience you're offering. Right. And, right. Or even to narrow it down a little bit, to another state, another city, a place that might be exciting, or thinking, oh man, I could interact with these folks, or I could do this or that. Like the whole thing when it comes to people being monogamous, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem as though that is the most profitable avenue to function in the dating space right now. Okay. Because logically, why would you?
Okay. Is it less of a deal when you get older because you don't have the time or the energy to just chase people?
I would think it would get worse as you got older, because you're going to care even less about the consequences of that shit. Right? Because if
that's true.
I mean, you know where one of the most cases of venereal or of sexually transmitted diseases is? It's the old folks' home, man. There are blue bombers coming out of the woodworks, man. They got the candy machine going out there. And they're going nuts, man. Like, old people don't give a fuck because they're on their way out. Yeah, they're like, hey, I get a 10 for 1 special. And then, you have Margaret over there who's going to fuck Theodore. And she's like, oh, I'm ready. Get your good teeth in, right? Like, it's absolutely insane. So, to that end, fuck no. The older you get, fuck that. No, like
There's a lady down here that's 70 years old. Okay, and she's always trying to date guys in their mid 50s or 55 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of hilarious because she gets on Tinder, whatever that is. I'm assuming it's a dating site, and she goes looking for guys in other countries, like Chile or Colombia or somewhere close, by here, Peru or somewhere, or even in Ecuador, So, and it's pretty funny because it's like, well, who's she hanging with today? Well, she's hanging with Carlos, and Carlos is 52 years old and single, and and it's like, really, man, really. And if Carlos, doesn't treat her right or something, she'll move on to the next guy and stuff. And it's really, to me, it's comical.
Why is that comical?
Because she's searching. Why don't you stay with one person? Do you have the expectations where you can't stay with one person? Why would you stay with one person when you got such a variety you can pick from, and you go, girl?
You're exactly right. That's what Tinder is. It's basically a website or a dating app in which, you get on there and you just meet people. And I would say it's one of from my view of it is one of the ones where it's like, are you DTF? Right? Like the whole point of this is to find people to fuck, right? Like, so to that end, if, what'd you say the lady's name was?
I didn't tell you.
Perfect. Don't. So,
okay.
Ladies out there, 70-something years old, I'm going to find me some strange, she needs some good old country gravy on her bed, right? Like,
that's right. On biscuit.
So, and it's like, okay, perfect. So when she's done with this person, she moves on to the next one.
Right.
She doesn't have time to cultivate that sort of relationship that you might think the heteronormative thing that's just like, I got to do this and just settle down and do that. No.
Right.
People are beyond that
you're
now.
Right.
Even people older than you, they're like, no, I'm good. Fuck that. Because
how old do you think I am, man? I mean,
no comment.
It's resonated in my head all week that you said, you're almost 70.
That's resonated. Yeah, no doubt in my mind.
When you said that last week, it's just resonated in my head, and I've mentioned that about a half a dozen times to my wife. You know what my son said?
Well, you are.
Okay.
Because I'm almost half of 70. So, bully to you. But, Hundy P. Like, I ain't got time for that. Like, to try to cultivate that bullshit, and then people, like, it. Well, one of the reasons I think is also behind that as well, people don't want to get married anymore. Like,
do you think the younger generation feels like that too? I don't have time for this. Let's bing bang boom and go on. Or
no. I think to a degree. Well, for one, that comes from I don't need somebody else to be successful. So why would I stay with somebody who doesn't give me exactly what I want?
Okay,
right. That's one of the things. Another thing too is marriage now, that institution is just going by the wayside, because why in the world would you do it? Because people will always be looking for a way out. And it's a scenario, where, I've had way too many people tell me that, the only thing marriage is good for is divorce. Right?
Wow.
So, let's put it into the perspective of somebody is going to, somebody is going to not get married. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
One of the things that puts into that relationship is saying, I will always have an out to find the next biggest and best thing. Whether guy, gal, whatever, like opportunity. So, if that's the case, and both people don't adopt that, it's going to, for one, crush the person who had those expectations because they didn't talk about it in communications, the hallmark of success in a relationship. But it also is something, too, where if someone is anxious, which nowadays people are just ridiculously anxious all the time, why in the world would they not think that person's going to leave instantaneously? So it does a couple of things. It tries to make you be on your best behavior all the time. Right?
Okay.
Like, that would kind of be the goal. But also, two-way street. They got to be on their best behavior all the time. Because if not, fuck you. I'm going out. I'm doing my thing. So
right.
It's like it's a weird kind of balance / amalgamation of just craziness, right? Because if you know people aren't going to lock down anymore, okay, well then I'm not going to take this as seriously. Why would I? Right? Like you will be around as a convenience or somebody that I potentially might need, but I always will have to be aware at one point in time, gone. You're just gone. And now I understand that can happen in marriage as well, but that process, people should be told a lot more before they get married, but they should have a lawyer sit down with you and say, look, do you understand what you're doing? But yeah, it's something where like roaching, that is par for the course in terms of what dating is now. And it's something where should you really get uppity with the person if they're playing the game or playing the field because they don't know if you're the one or the one they want to chill with or whatever. So it's very much a not a standoffish things, but like you either just you smash and grab and go, or hold people at arm's length. But that's the point, and everyone is at arm's length. Right. So, and then when you try, like when at the point in which you would need to become vulnerable or get deeper or more intimate with this person on an emotional level, it's just much harder to do. Or you do it and then you lose out and they don't stick around. Much like with Wayne's World, I'm just a book of references today, where it's like if you spew and she bolts, then it was never meant to be. Right. Like, that works physically and metaphysically too, right? So.
Okay. Well, I just thought that was interesting. Just the title kind of drew my mind towards the subject.
Yeah,
just the title.
That's a great. I wondered what it was. Topic. Yeah, no, it's a great topic. It's something where now I think it's more relevant than ever, right? Not just roaching, but just dating in general. Right, where that's a hard one there, bud, because it's a scenario where people used to date, from my understanding, and this obviously could be me being a fucking idiot, but they used to date out of necessity, right? Like you would court somebody and then it would see what happens and then cool, like you need each other. Now, no. Fuck you and fuck that and fuck this. Like, no, it's all gravy, baby. Like, I don't need anybody. It's by design that way, right? Because we want to make sure everyone is powerful, independent, able to function on their own and whatnot. Now, I also agree I think that that's more psychologically healthy, but in the end, I do think that humans as a species are very social, and that, just having a partner, whether it be man, woman, attack helicopter, whatever, it's going to be something where you will feel better overall, even on a biological level, like your hormones in your bodies and the chemicals in your body will be different if you have someone.
Okay.
But it's being made into such a game or into such a scenario in which it's less and less and less profitable to seek that. And it feels like it's by design.
Right. And probably spending the money nowadays, you think that has anything to do with it? The way inflation's gone up, with like driving to take somebody on a date or take them out to eat.
Do you know what is amazing? I recently, went out with a person a few times, and they never let me pay for anything. And I thought that was fine. It made me have to rethink a lot of things because, of course, I'm thinking, not that I'm paying for their time, but that, that's just my heteronormative thought, which I'm having to, or had to break or think about in that moment. But no, it was fantastic. They were like, no. But that's not what this is. Like, it's not that I am taking them out and paying for them, because at that point in time, there's a level of expectation that's just kind of built in, right?
Okay.
And with that being said, even if you don't cognitively think about it, it's not in the it's not in the frontal lobe part of your brain. Presumably, you may resent them later if things do not occur or do not play out or whatever, if you did all that stuff. And this person is pretty dang smart when it comes to that, because if you never paid for anything, there is no expectation.
Okay.
And I thought, wow,
makes sense.
that's pretty friggin' smart. So when it comes to like money and stuff like that, you can find creative and cheap ways to hang out with somebody. I don't think that's a thing.
Sure. I've only got a couple of boxes of chicken and took somebody to the park and sat at a picnic table in the park and had lunch or something. Of course, wait, I'm almost 70, so yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, you're about ready to clock out, so it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to my brother the other day, and he asked me, did I have a will?
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, there you go.
I said, a will for what? The will to go on, or the will
to continue? Yeah.
Yeah, the will to continue. So we had a nice discussion about that.
I bet he was very cordial and pleasant with you.
Yes, he was. Does click?
There we go. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the dial tone that we're expecting. But they're talking digitally, so there is no fucking dial tone anymore. He's showing his age, everyone.
Oh, me.
So, Speaking of age and also kind of things that we expect and whatnot, I have recently taken on a new team at work, and they are amazing. Love these people. They are fantastic, and I want every one of them to succeed, just like I want the people who I already had had in my stead, right? Like in the village in which I need to look after, I'll say.
Okay.
Or my little subsection of said village. And I've been told by one of the people in there that they hate sports, right?
Okay.
Just don't like it. And I'm thinking, perfect. I don't get into them much as well. But do you know what I do? One of my idiosyncrasies is when it comes to giving fucking analogies.
Uh-oh.
It's all sports analogies. Every single one, man. And I was talking to this guy, and I'm actually talking to this guy and this gal. They're both on the team that I'm looking at, and and I had to stop myself mid-sentence because I am in my mind, if you're going to take things back to fundamentals,
right?
Sport analogy, right? You're thinking about baseball, basketball, something like that, football, where, all right, we're going to take it back to basics, back to fundamentals, and we're going to build up from there. And of course, I'm thinking, and I stop myself mid-sentence and just start laughing. I lose it because I'm talking to these people before I'm about to leave. And they start laughing as well, because laughter is a little bit contagious. And I told him, I said, yeah, I'm about to use another freaking sports analogy, man. Like I gotta find something else that is analogous to the example that I can give to them, right? Because finding the lowest common denominator in terms of references of things. Or analogies specifically for me, because like you've seen in this episode, I'm just a book of analogies, right? Like I want to reference this or a book of references or that and this and whatnot. And so I've got to figure out how I can relate those sorts of messages in a way that isn't sports related. Where
you mean if he's a good hitter, why doesn't he hit good?
Exactly. Or par for the course. Back to fundamentals. Or back to basics. Like
right.
Calling and audible. What does that mean?
Well, I understand. Changing the play, baby.
Right.
Changing the direction we're going.
There are so many people I work with when I mention, we are going to have to audible. It's the click boo. Yeah. Because Audible is a website in which you can listen to audiobooks. A lot of them, that's what they think of when they hear Audible. And I then have to explain to them and not waste time, but break it down and tell them this is what this means. People I've worked with for a long time. I don't know what that means. So it is a scenario where I'm having to retrain a little bit of how I interact with people to make it palatable and understood and all of this by everybody. Because understand, I get that I control the message 100%.
Right.
And I control how it is given and the cadence and the format and all this. I do not control how you receive it or how the recipient receives it, but I can do everything in my power to make it be as receivable as possible. So,
Okay.
Definitely got to work on my sports analogies at work, because I have people who, they don't know what they are, and they couldn't give two shits about it, because it's not going to be something where they know that, this.
They're not going to know that Aaron Judge just hit his 45th home run for the New York Yankees yesterday.
No, they would at that sort of information, right? So it's something where I've got to find the analogy or find the through line, I'll say, for these folks, because I want to be able to engage with them on a level in which it seems or is personable, right? And it seems like I am a normal person, right? Not just, I am here to control your fate. Like, because that's silly, right? And no one gets anything done that way. Or if they do, they hate you in the end and then stop working for you. So it's something that's been, kind of interesting to have to kind of get out of my norm, right? And engage with folks in a particular way to make sure everyone is not catered to, but everyone is addressed in a way that makes them comfortable and they understand and know what the fuck's going on. I can't say, hey, we're going to call an audible, because people would be like, I'm not reading right now, or I'm not listening to a book, So yeah, it was definitely a fun week when it came to, we're going to do this. And people are like, crickets happen.
I understand changing your delivery or changing your platform or the way you talk.
Because speaking of that, we'll segue into our Cambly hour.
Yeah, today I talked to someone from South Korea and someone from China, and I talked to someone from Japan. And it's interesting talking to them and them trying to learn English. Now, these people spoke English fluently. I was very blessed that they spoke. Sometimes people will log on and they won't know any English at all. And it's very difficult if I don't know, Arabic, or I don't know Chinese, or I don't know, Taiwanese. If I don't know any of that, I can't address them. So it's very hard, and I've had to change. And talking to people that have visited the United States, and they said, we can understand you. But when we went to New York, I said, oh, yeah, everyone is in a hurry in New York. They drive fast, they talk fast, they act fast, and they're like, yes, they do. And they're going, blah, 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 blah. But I said, well, I'm from the southern part of the United States, and we do everything just a little bit slower. I said, we talk slow, and we drive slow, and we eat slow, and we do things just a little bit slower, not a lot slower, but a little bit slower. Because everybody in New York's like, and they're like, yes, yes, yes. And we couldn't understand what they were saying. And then talking to people that have been to Australia, that's another one. It's an English version of like the UK or the Netherlands.
Right.
With a twist.
Yeah, where they got, I was like, I'm going to take the lift to pick up, my pair of thongs. It's like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, I'm getting on the elevator to go grab my sandals or flip flops, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
there's a bit of a
So
difference of lingo, a little bit, yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting talking to people all across the world. Yeah, some and excuse me. I talked to somebody the other day that told me that LG had stopped making phones. We were talking about telephones.
Yeah, there you go.
He said LG had stopped making phone 2 years ago. He said, "What kind of phone do you have?" And I said,
And
LG.
LG like 4.
I said, "I have a LG Android," and the guy was like, "Oh my God!" And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because pretty soon LG won't be able to secure your data."
Right.
Because they're not going to be, they haven't made phones in a couple of years now. They still make air conditioners and they still make, refrigerators, and they still make, washing machines and things. But he said no phones because it wasn't profitable. So he said, don't buy the latest and greatest because it's not the latest and greatest. It's the newest thing out, but it's not got all the kinks worked out of it. So
sure,
it was pretty interesting talking to these people that are, that do cybersecurity, and then other guys doing, he works in a semiconductor. He's a design engineer in a semiconductor plant and stuff. And he's like, yeah, upgrade your phone, man, get rid of that stuff. So
we tried.
I said, yeah, I know. A phone down here is like $655 because I've already looked into that model.
A phone was $600 and $700 up here too, but like it would have been fine and you'd got your stuff all done and yada yada. So like,
oh my gosh. Okay. Well, maybe in the future I can work on that because it's not like I live or die by the phone, but excuse me, I do use it.
We're going to have to teach you how to mute your damn mic when you're going to, expel air at a rapid and intense rate there, bud.
If you mess with me, I'll turn the fan on and let it blow across the microphone. How about that?
We don't care because you've asked if I can hear that, and I've told you no. So no, that's fine. Just mute yourself if you're gonna. Right.
Come here.
Oh, it's also speaking of kind of silly things. It is time to start looking for the next haunted happenings that I do yearly with a group of people. So we'll have to tell us down below in the comments. Is there is a place that's awesome in Tennessee for hitting up to go to a haunted house or a haunted experience? One thing that looks pretty cool is it is like a hayride, but they give you a friggin' paintball gun, and then zombies are running at you and stuff. They're all padded up and stuff and whatnot, but you're like, and you're shooting people with paintballs. And it's like you're, defending the truck against zombies, which is pretty cool. So that sounds kind of fun, but that's like all the way out in bumfuck nowhere. So we'll have to save that one for a real special year. So
okay. What's the temperature there right now?
Let me see. It's like in the 80s or something like that.
Yeah, it's 72 here with a low of 69. I just thought I'd toot my own horn.
Do you think you're cool? Is that fun?
No, I'm not cool because we don't have air conditioning or heaters here. Because you don't need either one. You don't need either one of them.
Well, hashtag down on that. Don't need either one of them.
Yeah, we don't need either one of them.
What in the? Where? Oh, yes, it is 82 in Gallatin right now. So,
wow.
I mean, it's fine. The problem is the humidity, right? Like, and also another crappy thing. And we'll end on this because this is shenanigans. My AC unit on the downstairs is not functioning, and just the air conditioning side. The heat works perfectly, and the fan actually works still as well. But the control unit on the air conditioning or cooling side needs to be replaced. And initially, I was told by the technician that I'm under warranty because we had it's relatively new or whatever, right? Like 10 years or whatever, or however long the warranty is. And then they say, cool, so you'll just have to pay for labor, right? Like the installation. Then I get a call the next day saying, "Hey, you're not under warranty. It's going to cost you a lot more money." So, and you told me that I was a better person. I'm under the assumption what that means is that you would have told them, "Well, no, the tech told me this, so you're going to give me a deal, or you're going to honor what they said."
Okay.
Is that what you meant by that?
That makes sense. Well, that and the fact that you're paying to fix it.
And I didn't even mind like the initial service charge that was $150 to have them come out and say, "Yeah, we're going to have to come back out here." And you're going to have to pay more.
There? Was that when I was there when the guy came out and did some work on it when I was there? Replaced the thermostat or something?
No, they replaced a fuse at that point in time.
Oh, okay.
But now they have to replace the control unit for the cooling side. So, silliness,
Wow.
but it's also a scenario. Let us know down below in the comments after you like, comment, and subscribe. Would you fight them on that because the technician told you something else? Or would you go off on your business and say, "Cool, thank you, may I have another?" So let us know down below. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, good sir?
No, I'm good, man. I'm
Alrighty.
good. It's been a pleasure.
Honor and a pleasure as always. Thank you all so much for watching the Life in General podcast here with Tom and Jay. We will catch you all in the next episode.
See you.